This episode of Dispatches from Planet Albany is brought to you by New York State United Teachers and National Fuel. To find out how your special interests can reach my coveted audience, email david.lombardo@wcny.org. And if you want to support this show as an individual, you can become a recurring contributor by checking out capitalpressroom.org/donate.
I've also declared war on potholes, so here's the first shot across the bow.
Well, as you know, with Planet Albany, there's always something that makes the planet turn.
And it's this amazing view of D.C., and Eddie Vedder comes out, and he goes, "You have a cigarette?" And I've never smoked in my life, but if I had, I wish that was the moment.
And this strategy takes us from potholes to knotholes.
I would like to say it was a pleasure, Mr. Kim. But I'm on the road.
I'm David Lombardo, and this is Dispatches from Planet Albany, a WCNY podcast about power and politics here in New York. And this is part 2 of our conversation about the path that Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado could potentially follow to become the Democratic gubernatorial nominee in 2026. And our guest is Rebecca Garrard, the acting co-executive director for Citizen Action of New York. And if you want to catch up on the first part of this conversation, check out your podcast feed or capitalpressroom.org. Now on with the show. Sticking with that left embrace, when's the Working Families Party going to back him? Or when do you think they should back him to have a meaningful time frame to build up support?
You know, the Working Families Party is probably the most important entity in progressive politics. And so Jasmine Gripper and Anna Maria Archia are the perfect people to answer that question.
When would you like to see them make the endorsement?
I have enough on my plate to think about how and when that is something Citizen Action moves, if it moves it. So I'm not going to be so bold as to speak on behalf of WFP.
In the past, WFP has taken their sweet time with certain endorsements. So is there a case to be made that endorsements are more effective when you wait until the last second, like the New York City mayoral race? Or do you think maybe it's more impactful to do it earlier and you can build up this grassroots support earlier on?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. I don't know.
How about, let's say, I don't know, a 2026 gubernatorial election, just to name a random example?
There are factors to be considered that Citizen Action will think through, WFP will think through. I don't know that they're identical, and I would not presume to speculate on what is right for the Working Families Party in this decision.
Who is Delgado surrounded by right now? Who's he talking to? Who's he getting advice from? We know on the communication side, Peter Kaufman is working for him, but who else is working for him?
My understanding is that it has a very well-rounded staff of people right now with backgrounds in New York State politics, Washington politics. I think it is an evolving staff.
Any names you want to name?
I'm not going to speak on behalf of the campaign.
Well, I'm not. I'm asking you to speak about what you know about.
You should ask the campaign.
They don't respond to my last email, which said, hey, would the LG like to come on the show?
I don't know who's paid staff, who's volunteers, so I don't think...
That's okay. You don't have to differentiate.
I am very focused on what is our process at Citizen Action in working with the campaign. If that happens, I think I'll have a much better understanding of who our official campaign staff or volunteers that the campaign would like to have people be in contact and coordination with. And until that time, I don't know that I'm the right person to ask that question to.
When we think about winning a statewide election in New York, there's this idea that for Republicans to be successful, they need to eat into the New York City advantage that Democrats have, and for the Democrats, they need to really run up the score in New York City. What about a primary, though? What does the calculus look like for someone who's challenging Kathy Hochul, who clearly has support in New York City? So does it mean focusing on upstate New York, where you have these sort of disaffected centrist or right-leaning Democrats? Is it tacking to the left more and finding those voters in New York City? What does that coalition look like? And do you have numbers in your head in terms of this is the percentage you need in New York City, this is the percentage in upstate?
Yeah, I don't have numbers, but I feel very clear that there has to be a large base built in New York City for this to be a successful primary bid.
And is it
this
a base?
Cannot be an upstate only base of support.
And to be successful, does it have to rely on the traditional voting turnout, or do you need to upset the actual number of voters and what the electorate looks like, or can you rely on the traditional turnout models and just convert people?
I think it's an either or. I don't think you necessarily have to upend the traditional numbers. I think there is a case to be made that a candidate like Delgado could peel votes, New York City votes, away without drastically increasing your expected numbers. And I think there's a case to be made for moving that lane simultaneously because we have a large number of disenfranchised voters.
Disenfranchised or disaffected?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Who don't see a reason to show up at the polls.
And if I'm Delgado, do I want this to be a one-on-one race? Do I want other people in the race? Because I have to imagine if I'm Governor Hochul, I want somebody to my right. I want somebody to my left. I want to win this feeling safe as a plurality, kind of like how I saw my victory in 2022.
If I were Delgado, I would not want a candidate to the left of me.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like that would not be helpful to a campaign like his.
How does he avoid that then?
I don't know that he has control over it. I think the best way to avoid it is to build something powerful and strong.
Get that WFP
that
support.
Disincentivizes someone else from throwing their hat in the ring.
So come out in support of a free Palestine. Would that be helpful?
I would not begin to tell him what would be helpful and what wouldn't. And if I were advising, I'm not sure it would be at the very top of my list.
Coming back.
Thanks for pitting me in on that.
No problem. Coming back to his relationship with the media, do you think he has a problem with his media interactions? Because my experience is that some of his answers can be meandering at best, and at worst, I don't even know what he said after I go through it and listen to it again. But in the moment, I'm like, wow, this guy's killing it. This sounds great. So do you think he has a problem, or am I in the media bubble, like super hypercritical, and it's not grounded in reality? Or at least not grounded in the reality that other people experience?
I mean, look, you and I have talked about this. We can cut that out if you want, but you and I, in our personal conversations have had this back and forth, right? I think to be a successful politician, you have to be inspiring.
Like Jeb Bartlett.
On the West Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Matt Santos.
Yeah, also on the West Wing.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got me. I don't know Carl from Bethany. Sorry, Carl, but now you're speaking my language.
I'm a 38-year-old millennial. This is my language. This is my love language. This is everything to me.
So exactly, you have to be able to bring that special thing that gets people so excited that I would assert can't be taught, and you either have or don't have. And so that is not connected to laying out specific policy proposals and nuances and details of legislation. And I think a valid critique of the Democratic Party often is that they are condescending, too esoteric.
More
right?
than me?
Do you mean as a criticizer or how you talk?
Just condescending.
Yes. No, I don't see you as condescending, but
Thanks.
Yes, my pleasure. So he does that really well. And I would not want a candidate who can talk in sound bites but has no clue about where they want the state to go in this case, the country to go if we were talking about a presidential candidate, their district if we were talking about a congressional rep. And I think that is not the case here, right? So from what I can see, there is a plan, there is a vision, and the communication of it is steeped in a framing and a language that is accessible, exciting, and meant to promote engagement with voters, and something that the Democratic Party really needs to do better on as a whole. Put this race aside. Trump is, in my opinion, a sociopath, and yet there's something about him.
Effective communicator.
That people, I mean, I'm not here to say that, but there's something about him that people are connecting with. And I'm not running through my policy points like your college professor. I'm acknowledging your pain. I'm telling you, there's a different way.
And I just want to interrupt. And I should say, I think Trump's an effective communicator. He also has nonsensical answers. Just to be fair, since I gave Delgado a hard time.
Yeah. I'm not comparing the two. I think Delgado has a humane, logical, effective path. But we would be crazy if we keep ignoring what the voters are screaming for, which is someone to stop talking over them, talking down to them. And the voters want someone to say to them, I know things are bad for you. The government is not doing enough for you. And I'm here to tell you there's a different way. And I want you to help me get there.
I'm skeptical that Delgado is going to walk away with any union endorsements unless he dramatically changes the landscape or Kathy Hochul does something really dumb in the next 9 months leading up to the state budget to alienate unions who, if they were smart, probably hold back their endorsements until they see what goodies they get in the state budget. But thinking about union support, I don't necessarily think it's a big deal in terms of what they can do for you, in terms of their membership voting for you. I think it's what they can do in terms of their outreach and the way they can mobilize others. If you don't have that, where do you get bodies from? Where do you get a meaningful coalition of door knockers? Is it paying people? Does the WFP have that big of an apparatus? Is Citizen Action of New York secretly a lot larger and well bankrolled than I imagine it is? I mean, where do you get those bodies from?
I wish I could say we were much better bankrolled than you perceive us to be, but your assessment is probably very accurate. Look, a good grassroots campaign does not have to revolve around paying people. It's good old-fashioned door knocking, distributive organizing. Just to give a small example, we had a federal call as an organization last night, and we had...
With Josh Riley?
Yes.
Is he backing Delgado?
There is no indication of that that I'm aware of.
The head of the Planned Parenthood in New York State was on the call as well, right? Robin Chappelle-Golston.
Did you watch our call?
No, but I saw the press release, and I was like, is Planned Parenthood
you missed something very good.
going to support Delgado?
You should watch the recording.
What did we miss?
The defining of how everyone can band together in a grassroots way to fight back against the federal policies that are seemingly imminently coming down the pike.
And did Robin at any point go, and this is not an endorsement of Delgado?
Nobody said that because this may shock you to know that it was not a Delgado campaign event. It was a citizen action, federal mass call.
But people are afraid to even associate with him in some circles right now because they fear retribution.
I'm starting to get that feeling, yeah. It seems that certain people in power are unhappy if associations with Delgado happen. And
is certain people Kathy Hochul?
The governor seems to.
I don't know why we're being coy about it now.
Yeah, I know. The governor seems to be
I don't want to name names.
Yeah.
Kathy Hochul.
Yeah. It was a call about the federal attack that's happening on this state. Everyone talked about how to collaborate on the federal attack that's happening on this state. If that pisses off anyone that's operating on behalf of or in accordance with the governor's office, then I think we've really taken our eye off the prize here.
Stop, collaborate, and listen.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That's what should be the soundbite.
Anything else we should talk about with Delgado?
No, I mean, I think we should keep having lots of conversations. This is going to be good, juicy fodder for us for the next 12 months.
Is it? Why would it be? Again, if the bird doesn't take off, what's there to talk about?
I mean, you're right. So either in 3 months we can talk about how the bird is
dead, roadkill,
wounded, or we can talk about how there's baby flights that are occurring.
And what does a baby flight look like? What's that trajectory? How did we get talking about bird analogies? This is too much bird talk.
You started it.
You think birds are modern-day dinosaurs?
I've never given it thought, and I have no idea.
Okay.
In 3 months, we'll know if it's a flight, when we think about doors knocked and money raised.
Mm-hmm.
Those two metrics, doors knocked and money raised. And to your point about unions, I think you're right. I think we're not going to see early endorsements. I'd love to be wrong just because I like to see a challenge to power structures and, unions have a lot of things to consider when it comes to moving their agendas, representing a membership that is extremely diverse in their political views. So, I agree with you, and I think it's fine, right? Doors knocked, money raised. Those are the metrics we should be watching.
The last thing that always bothers me that I want to talk about with regards to Delgado is the fact that he was a Division I basketball player, and despite being in Albany for 23, 24, and 25, never participated in the legislative pickup basketball games, which to me seems like a complete missed opportunity to begin outreach and to develop relationships with lawmakers. I know he tried to do that in the last 6 months, talking about what he's done. He's been calling committee chairs, something he was not happy that I asked him about this spring. He's been talking with state lawmakers. Why didn't he play basketball? And should he be playing basketball in 2026?
Insane that he didn't play basketball.
He claimed it's because you can't get injured because with 2 kids, you need both parents ready at any given time.
Insane.
Do you think single parents will connect with that?
This is going to be a huge sticking point during the trajectory of the next 12 months.
You think so?
I mean, you've stumbled upon it. That's insanity, and he's going to have a lot to answer for.
And I feel like you're mocking me. I can't quite read between the lines. I'm not great with social cues, but I feel like you're mocking me and not necessarily attacking him.
You might be correct. I think it was probably a misstep. I don't know if he was thinking about his political future. It would have been a very good idea to keep your friends close and play hoops.
And make new friends.
Make new friends. This is what we teach kids when they go off to kindergarten. As a mother, I can say this. Make new friends. Try something new. Talk to people you haven't talked with yet.
And I guess before I let you go, I should say that I'm maybe not giving him enough credit as a political thinker, given how he was dead on the money with calling for Joe Biden not to run again. He was dead on the money saying that Eric Adams should step down from a political perspective.
Right.
And with that track record and hearing he won a congressional race in 2018, not a lot of talk about it, but
yes,
something I'm aware of.
You may have heard that it was a Republican white rural district.
Yeah. He's been successful at everything he's tried politically. So I feel like I should probably give him more credit and say maybe he knows what he's doing. And this governor kind of stumbles into victories, stumbled into the executive mansion, stumbled into a 2022 victory, kind of stumbles through budget processes. But all that said, it seems like the institutional support, the incumbency advantage is so great. And I think that's where my skepticism comes from, and this idea that you basically need to be perfect to pull this off. And I wonder whether you can be perfect.
I think you just framed it perfectly, speaking of being perfect. That's right. I think he's very savvy. So glad we're on the same page now. It's good to know we're aligned.
He's been savvy sometimes.
The governor has been the beneficiary of unearned power.
That seems like a nicer way of saying what I said.
Yeah, I'm sometimes diplomatic and sometimes not. She does not have the winning record on her own that he has.
Do you think if the state has to come back this fall to do budget cuts, that has the potential to be very beneficial to
100%.
The Delgado campaign?
100%.
Especially if the option is let's raise revenue by taxing rich people, and she chooses not to go that way?
100%. I think from a political
Are you hoping that happens then?
From a political perspective.
Come on, Kathy.
She
walk into our trap.
Be crazy not to
follow
raise
the David
revenue
Patterson playbook
and
to a deficit
say
reduction
to
plan.
New Yorkers that I am not willing to increase taxes on the ultra wealthy and the mega rich corporations, and therefore, as a result, we will have losses in healthcare. We will have increases in childhood poverty. I think that would be crazy. To be determined whether that's the path she takes.
It's the crazy you're rooting for.
And
politically, that is.
I think it's a real possibility on the table, right? So
we're recording this on Wednesday, June 11th. You're the interim co-executive director. You ever going to become the co-executive director or just executive director?
I've been told that I will be the co-executive director pending the signature of paperwork.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for making the time, for putting up with me and my interruptions.
I will come anytime you ask. This is spending time with you is my favorite media thing to do.
Well, that's as good a place as any to end this episode of Dispatches from Planet Albany. We've been speaking with Rebecca Garrard, who, depending on when you listen to this, is either the interim or just permanent co-executive director of Citizen Action of New York.